Today, what piece of advice would you give a young filmmaker who's starting to work?
Get your phone out and go get you some mates together and go make a film.
Salut Brut, je suis avec le réalisateur néo-zélandais Peter Jackson qui a réalisé 2 trilogies, celle du Seigneur des Anneaux et celle du Hobbit. Il a remporté hier une Palme d'Or d'honneur au Festival de Cannes. Bonjour, cher Peter Jackson.
You speak very good French.
Yeah, well, I'm French though.
Oh, I see. Ah, okay.
Je suis très surpris que vous n'ayez pas mis votre short. I'm
right.
very surprised you didn't put on your shorts.
I know. Well, the first time I ever set foot in this building in 1988, I got thrown out because I was wearing shorts. So it scarred me for life. I'm too scared to wear shorts.
Flashback, 25 years ago, how important was the Cannes Festival in your career, in your work as a director?
We'd been shooting all 3 movies for 3 years, and there was a degree of negative press was starting to build because you know, I mean, people hadn't seen anything from the film. The negative vibe was happening. You know, what's going to happen if the first film fails? And we bought 20 minutes of The Lord of the Rings. We went up to a castle on the hill. We had a full day of press. Immediately, the narrative changed from New Line's folly, New Line's big mistake. It's going to bring the end to the studio. It changed to these look like really great films. Can't wait for them to come out. I mean, it just altered. So they had then. So New Line had 7 months of positivity to build to the December release.
What tiny background detail in these films are you the most proud of? Because almost nobody noticed it.
I'm trying to run 3 Lord of the Rings films through my head at high speed to answer the question. I mean, I think the details that I think are really important are the detail in costume. There's sort of the textures in the costumes. That, you know, if you looked at the costumes now, you know, hanging on a rack, the detail in the belt buckles and the stamping and all the leather work and everything. I mean, it's just so cultural and so extreme, and it is the culture. We try to, you know, the Lord of the Rings has different cultures. You know, the Rohan horse culture. You know, obviously the hobbits in Hobbiton, the culture in Minas Tirith, which is much more imperious, and obviously the orcs and stuff. They have all these different cultures, and we try to give each one its own cultural identity. In fact, the Elvish culture, you know, in designing the Elvish culture, we use the Paris metro system. That's of Art Nouveau. As our inspiration for the Elvish design.
Do you speak Tolkien languages? Which one is your favorite?
I don't speak any language. Speaking English is hard for me. So I God knows not any other languages. Oh well, I mean, I like it when the actors say it. It's sort of somehow it's amazing. I mean, you know, they're saying a made-up language that only like 3 people in the world will actually understand, but it makes it sound so authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things because we wanted the movies to feel real. Like we've gone back into history and we're just seeing something that really happened to real people. And when somebody starts talking a language that they're clearly comfortable with and communicating and there's subtitles, it just somehow just makes it feel real, you know, it makes it feel authentic.
You dedicated such a long time in your journey, in your career over Tolkien. Did you always know it would last so long and it would become such a big thing?
No, you never know. I never make movies for anybody else. I always make them for myself. I mean, because I can't make films for the audience because there's such a range and diversity. There's millions of potential audience members, and I can't possibly guess what they would like to see in the film. So I just make the film for one person. That's for me. You just have to hope that there's people out there that like it too. You know.
I'm wondering, Peter, how important is European cinema and European culture for you as an artist?
You know, Lord of the Rings is a very European story. I mean, it's you know it's an English author, but he was pulling from Scandinavian mythology. He was pulling from Greek mythology. You know, he was dipping into all the European sort of the ancient stories to put his big epic mythology together. So you know, we were making a European story, you know, in New Zealand.
And there's also a Belgian vibe in Peter Jackson. I'm thinking of TinTin, of course. And I heard you were going to direct the new movie.
Yeah, well, the plan was always that Stephen would direct the first TinTin film and I would produce it for him. And then we'd flip the roles and I would direct the second one and he'd produce the second one. And so it's just, you know, but I've got to write the script, and so I've just been busy for 15 years. But I finally got the time now to write the TinTin, and I'm actually writing it right now with Fran. In fact, I was writing it here in Cannes, in the hotel room. I was sending some notes to Fran in New Zealand, who's typing up the scenes, and so we're actually underway with the screenplay now.
What's your favorite character in TinTin? I want to know.
Well, I like a lot of the characters. I guess Captain Haddock probably, but I like Professor Calculus.
Well, you do look a little bit like him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what I like about TinTin is that I like the slapstick. I'm a huge Buster Keaton fan, and I don't know for sure. I haven't read it, but I guarantee that Hergé is a Buster Keaton fan because there's so much in those scripts where he's like, he's actually drawing silent movie gags, pratfalls, and I really love that.
I've been a huge fan of your works for forever, and I have to say what strikes me is the importance of imagination for you as an artist. Where does it come from, Peter?
My love of cinema is really based on escapism. Now, people like cinema for other reasons, and they like other types of films. I mean, the great thing with cinema is there's no right or wrong. If it's not about, well, this film is good, this film's bad. It's just that, there's always something that you're going to love. There's something that other people are going to love. It's just there's such a broad range of films. But my particular joy is films that are escapist. In other words, you've had a day in the office, you're tired, but you're going to watch a film, and suddenly the film just transports you out of your world. You forget everything, you forget all your problems, and you're into some amazing adventure.
It has something to do with child play, right?
I was an only child, so I had to make my own sort of entertainment. So I'd go in the garden with little cars, I'd make cliffs, and I'd make emergencies and have them pull down cliffs, and I was just sort of endlessly inventing things to do because I had no one to play with, no brothers or sisters or anything.
I'm wondering, you spend so many years immersed in imaginary worlds. Has it changed the way you experience ordinary reality?
I know, I'd rather be in imaginary worlds than ordinary reality. That's not very nice at all.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Would you say we need imagination and fantasy more than ever?
Well, yeah, I mean, these are all trends and swings and roundabouts. Like the first initial explosion of fantasy and escapism was in the late 20s and early 30s with the Great Depression around the world. Actually, that's when a lot of sort of horror movies like Frankenstein, Dracula, and actually King Kong, a lot of those movies came out of the Depression. Yeah, right now the state of the world is in, I think we need to rush up to the cinema and just escape it for a while, yeah.
Of course, filmmaking has changed a lot since your beginning 40 years ago, at least technically. How exciting was it for you to see that change?
It's extremely exciting because when you're making a film, the first thing that you obviously do is to write a script. You're sitting there and you're writing a script and you're imagining in your head the ultimate. You're not censoring yourself because of the technology. You're just imagining the most incredible, wide, crowd shot with thousands of extras and all this sort of thing. Your imagination is going crazy. And then in the old days, that was fine. And then when it came to the reality of looking at the script, and how are we going to film this? How you say 5,000 people are in the sea, but how are we going to make it? And there was always a limit. Well, okay, maybe if we get 500 people, it would be okay. Maybe, it's like you had to always crush your ambition because of the technology. But nowadays you don't. I mean, anything you write, you can put on film. And so, as a filmmaker, that's absolutely exciting.
So, if you could remake some of your old movies with today's technology and experience, what would you change? Do you have a fantasy?
No, I wouldn't remake any of my old films. I think they're made, and I don't really ever want to go back and do them again. I do wonder what somebody like Stanley Kubrick would have done if he had access to CGI, or Cecil B. DeMille, or those guys were all about spectacle, and they were restricted. Even though they did amazing things, but unleashing CGI with Cecil B. DeMille would be pretty extraordinary.
Because at the same time, constraint gives you freedom, right?
Being constrained forces the filmmaker to be creative and constructive.
What about the use of AI and the new challenges that are here and before us?
Look, at the end of the day, AI is a technique just like stop motion animation, just like blue screen compositing. It's a special effects technique. Nothing to be afraid of. But however, like anything, I mean, AI. You should not be doing anything that you don't have the rights to do. If somebody wants to make a film of a novel, well, you can't make a film of a novel unless you own the rights to that novel. You license the rights. If you're making a film and you want to a certain song to play in the film, you can't just put the song in, you've got to license that song. So I think that with AI, you know, so long as people are licensing the rights to what they want to use, they're not just stealing stuff, that's important.
Between you and me, would you say the studios today give directors less creative freedom than you had in the early 2000s?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm not sure because I haven't really, you know, I've been making documentaries for 10 years, but I feel like there's creative freedom comes often with competition. So in other words, you know, studios are competing with each other to get the most interesting filmmakers to work for them. It's like it's sort of, you know, it's they want the best of talent and they're competing. But that was great when there were 6 or 7 studios. When there's only 3 studios, you know, which with all these mergers, I mean.
So what's the key? How do you impose your art, your take?
I don't know. I mean, you know, it's a bit depressing. I mean, I don't think Hollywood is as filmmaker friendly now as it was maybe 20 years ago. And that's, you know, because of just the way that it's constricted, and the market's changed too, obviously. And you know, you can't just blame COVID. It's just that there's less people going to the movies and more streaming out there, so there's more choices, you know, staying at home. And you know, the movies are totally dependent on a pool of money that the studios can sort of share from the box office. That then that pool of money can be used to give filmmakers the money to make films. And if that pool of money is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, there's going to be less money to go to less filmmakers. So there's going to be good filmmakers that actually don't get their films funded because the money's gone to these guys, and you've missed out. I mean, it's, you know, the pot being smaller is never going to be a good thing. So it's a little bit depressing at the moment, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Peter.
I'm sorry to end on a bad note. But
No, that's fine. You were amazing. Thank you. And I'm so happy I have met you.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.